Hallo, ek is Etie. Welkom by my kanaal waar ons als saam doen. Toekomende tyd. Toekomende tyd refers to the future tense in Afrikaans. And today we are going to take a look at everything toekomende tyd. I am going to explain it as well as possible to you, and I hope by the end of this video you are thoroughly versed in the future tense in Afrikaans. For the sake of ease, I've divided the way in which you form future tense into a few rules. I think this will just make it easier for you to remember. So we start off by looking at the word sal. Sal is the Afrikaans word for will and shall. So we only have one. And sal is the word you use to make the Afrikaans future tense, but not in all cases, and we will get to that just in a little bit. But for the most part, sal is the indication of future tense. And if you have a factual statement that is true in the present tense, if you want to then make that into future tense, you use sal. Onderwerp plus sal plus res van sin plus V2. That translates to the subject comes first, then followed by sal, if you're creating future tense, and then the rest of the sentence, and at the very end, the verb that you had in the present tense that was before the noun, that verb two, because you now have two parts, sal being verb one, and the original verb is now verb two, that moves to the end of the sentence. Now, before we continue, if you are not well versed in Afrikaans sentence construction and word order, go to my video on Stompie. First watch that and first learn about word order and sentence construction. And once you have a good grasp on that, then return to this video, because this will make way more sense with that already being a solid foundation and background. If you have already watched it or you are well versed in sentence construction, then you can just continue. Let's look at the examples. Sy eet brood. Eat is the only verb there. It means she eats bread. And then the future tense becomes sy sal brood eet, which means she will eat bread. Hulle gesels lekker. Hulle sal lekker gesels. Die vis swem in die see. Die vis sal in die see swem at the end of the sentence. All right, so then we look at the sentence that I also gave in the Stompie video as one of the examples. And in that video, I set apart all the parts of the sentence. So I took that same one, give you the present tense one. Die kind skryf daagliks sy werk netjies in sy boek om goeie punte te kry. All right, so there's the whole mouthful. And then to change that very long sentence to future tense, you have die kind sal daagliks sy werk netjies in sy boek skryf om goeie punte te kry. So it's a whole long thing, but you can see here where the sal fits into the picture, and then you've got all the other parts. And the infinite part at the end, the om te, that part comes after the verb to, but that you'll also see in the Stompie video. Continuing with reel 1, we look at what happens when it's a question. So at the top, I give you the statement form, and then just below that, I give you the way the word order should be when it's a question. In Afrikaans, that sal just moves to the front. So you will first have sal, and then the subject, whereas if it's not a question, it's just the other way around. And then you will have the rest of the stuff, which is the same. So it's just sal, then onderwerp, res van sin, V2. Pretty simple. Reel 2. Reel 2 is all about will and shall be. In Afrikaans, in the past, you have the word was, to be in the past. Is to be in the present. And if it changes to future tense, it becomes sal, after the subject, and then at the end of the sentence, wees. So, sal wees, that's your future. Sy is sick, which means she is sick. In the future, that becomes sy sal siek wees. Right, so wees is now the V2 part, if you will, of the sentence, and sal is your verb 1 or your V1. Sy was sick, which is she was sick, also becomes sy sal siek wees in the future. So, same thing. Hy was daar. He was there. Hy sal daar wees. He will be there. We look at a question sentence. Wat is die antwoord? What is the answer? And then future tense will be wat sal die antwoord wees? Now, I explained previously that as a question, if you do have a question, the sal and the subject just change places. So you'll have sal before the subject, voor die onderwerp. And it still remains the case. If you have a question word like wat, hoekom, waarom, wanneer, then you put that before sal in the question. Wat is die antwoord? What is the answer? Becomes wat sal die antwoord wees? What will the answer be? Hoekom was hulle laat? Why were they late? Hoekom sal hulle laat wees? Why will they be late? This one pertains to will have or shall have. And this is the to have, the verb to have something in your hand, to have a feeling, that one. This is not referring to het as the past tense Afrikaans. So you know, if you don't know, go to my video on het. It has a nice big het in the thumbnail. Het is both the word for to have in Afrikaans and the word we use to create past tense sentences, to indicate past tense in an Afrikaans sentence. If you don't know all of that, please go watch that video. Right, so now we have het. Word in die toekomende tyd sal hê. So that means het becomes sal as V1 and then hê as V2 in future. If it is to have something, right? Specifically, okay, ek het 'n pen in my hand. I have a pen in my hand. That becomes ek sal 'n pen in my hand hê. I shall have a pen in my hand. Ek sal 'n pen in my hand hê. So it's a whole thing. V2 is at the end of the sentence. Hy het 'n goeie plan. He has a good plan. Hy sal 'n goeie plan hê. He will have a good plan. Het jy 'n nuwe haarstyl in daai fliek? So if somebody is acting in a movie, you ask them, do you have a new hairstyle in that movie? Het jy 'n nuwe haarstyl in daai fliek? Sal jy 'n nuwe haarstyl hê in daai fliek? So again, it's that word order where if you have the question, that sal is in the front of the sentence and then everything else follows. Whereas in a statement, you have the subject in the beginning of the sentence and then sal. And the same for het. You'll have the subject first, then het in the present tense. When it becomes a question, het is the verb is in front, then the subject. So that is not in every case, but for the most part, this is the word order when it's a question. Will and shall are not the only future tense words or indication of future tense that you get in English, nor is sal the only future tense indication in Afrikaans. In English, you have the very famous and well-known going to. And in Afrikaans, that is gaan. The word gaan can both be present tense and used in the future tense. So it just depends on how you structure the sentence. Gaan is the word for going to. It's also the word for go. And past tense, het gegaan is the past tense of that. It's a mouthful. All right. Ek gaan hom môre betaal. So if you don't want any confusion between ek gaan hom betaal and ek gaan hom môre betaal, just put a future word in there like môre, which is tomorrow. Then you know it's going to in the future, very much in the future. Right, so just put an indication in there. Ek gaan hom môre betaal, which means I'm going to pay him tomorrow. Ons gaan maandag die projek begin. We are going to start the project on Monday. So it's always a word to indicate future. Because you can say we are going to start the project, which can mean now in the present tense, right? We're starting it now. You can add the word now. In Afrikaans, you can say ons gaan nou die projek begin, which means we are going to start the project now, which is obviously present tense. You can also say ons gaan die projek begin, which pretty much also means now in the present tense. So if you don't want any confusion, just indicate when it's going to happen and if it's in the future. And again, gegaan, het gegaan, that is the past tense. Sy gaan nie die fliek saam met ons kyk nie. She is not going to watch the movie with us. Gaan hy later saam met ons sokker speel? And again, here we have the subject and that V1 swapping places. So where gaan in the statements was second after the subject, you now have gaan first in the question sentence and then the subject. Gaan hy later saam met ons sokker speel? Is he going to play soccer with us later? And then, jy gaan daarvan hou. You are going or gonna like that. So gonna, if you use that informal way of speaking in English and you're saying gonna, that is also gaan. Going to, gonna, both gaan. When the English is will or shall go, we have gaan in the present tense, and then we have sal gaan in future tense, just to confuse the matter a tiny bit more. Right, so sy gaan stap. She is going to walk or she is going for a walk, because in Afrikaans we use sy gaan stap to indicate both of those. For this example, I used she is going for a walk as translation. Sy sal gaan stap. She will go walk, or she will go for a walk, rather. It sounds better. Ek gaan slaap. I am going to sleep. Ek sal gaan slaap. I shall go sleep. And then we have gaan jy was goed was. So again, now gaan is before jy, so subject and V1 change places. Are you going to do the laundry? And then we have sal jy gaan. Right. So now you see when sal enters the chat, sal is the one that's going in front. Then the subject, then gaan. So they do not both move to the front. It's not sal gaan jy. It's sal jy gaan. So focus on that one, learn that one, because it's a tiny bit different than the rest because of both of these being used. Because you've got sal gaan, and then you still have the other verb was. Right? So sal, then the subject, onderwerp, then gaan, then the rest of the stuff. Sal jy gaan was goed was? Will you go do laundry? And also, in this case, it's very similar to the English, because you have the same situation going on there with the English, where will is the first word in the sentence, then you have you, and then you have go, which is exactly the same as the Afrikaans. And then, just to make sure that you have the whole picture, we also look at going to be, or is going to be. In Afrikaans, it is gaan wees. So those are the two words you're looking for, is going to be. Sy gaan kwaad wees. And then in the English, she is going to be angry. Hy gaan daar wees. He is going to be there. Wat gaan die antwoord wees? What is the answer going to be? Hoekom gaan hulle laat wees? Why are they going to be late? Wat gaan môre anders wees? What is going to be different tomorrow. And I forgot about this one, but here we have is going to have. So sy gaan, and then again we have gaan hê, right? So we had gaan wees, now it's gaan hê. Sy gaan 'n pen in haar hand hê. She is going to have a pen in her hand. Hy gaan 'n antwoord hê. He is going to have an answer. Gaan jy 'n nuwe haarstyl in daai fliek hê? Are you going to have a new hairstyle in that movie? Die hond, die hond gaan die beste dag hê. The dog is going to have the best day. Before we get to the end of this video, I present to you the last bit of information and probably the most challenging part of this video, because now you have another component to the sentence and another auxiliary verb. Whereas before you only dealt with one auxiliary verb, which was either sal or gaan. Now you're dealing with sal and another auxiliary verb and V2. I'll explain. The auxiliary verb we are referring to is a modal verb or modale werkwoord, which is also an auxiliary verb. They just indicate obligation and things like that. And they can be in a present tense sentence, right? They're present tense in and of themselves. So they're in a present tense sentence, but then when you want to form the future tense, you add sal, and they still remain in that sentence, and then it becomes challenging. So when you change the present tense sentence with a modale werkwoord, the sal auxiliary verb is still first. So you will place that in the sentence before you write or place the modal verb, and then you'll have the main verb move to the back of the sentence or move after all the other verbs. So then you have V2. I think the only way that you can really get a grip on this is to look at the examples. Let's look at the last example first, because the last example, sentence example I give you is a present tense sentence, and that is, it encompasses what happens in the future tense with sal when you have a modal verb in a sentence. So we have hulle wil kom kuier, which is they want to come and visit. That is present tense, and wil is your modal verb in that sentence. When you change it to future tense, it becomes hulle sal wil kom kuier. And so that is for the present tense. There's no double negative in this thing. It's just a positive, straightforward statement. Then you have sal directly before wil, which is the modal verb, right? So that's the straightforward, simple example. Then we go to the top of those sentence examples, and we go look at the first one, which has a double negative. Ek kan, which is the modal verb, ek kan haar nie verstaan nie. And that means I can't understand her. Ek kan haar nie verstaan nie. And then it becomes ek sal haar nie kan verstaan nie. Now, you can see there that when it comes to the double negative, sal is not directly before the modal verb anymore. You have ek, the subject, sal, and then you have haar nie, which is the object, and the first negative, and then you have kan, the modal verb, and then the rest of the stuff. So learn the straightforward one, that last sentence example first, but then also learn what happens when it's a negative statement, because then you'll see that the object is not where it was in the straightforward present tense or the straightforward positive statement. The object moves. So that's important. Moet hy die kar was? Sal hy die kar moet was? And oh my word. And then we have the question version of that. All of these differ in where things are placed. The only thing that remains true or the same is that sal is always before all of the other verbs in the future tense. So it doesn't matter where or how close it is to the modal verb. Sal is always the first verb. So that remains true and the same. But as to where it's placed, um, uh, between object, subject, and the other modal verbs, that changes depending. So we have a question word, moet hy die kar was? Sal hy die kar moet was? Now we have sal first, then we have the subject, then we have the object, and then we have the modal verb, and then we have V2. And then the last sentence there, hy wil nie sy kos eet nie. Hy sal nie sy kos wil eet nie. Again, with the double negative or a negative statement, you have sal, you have the subject, then sal, then you have the object first, then you have the modal verb, then V2, and then the last negative. So study this, because I think this is going to be the hardest part to grasp out of all of this. We are at the end of future tense. Is there anything I left out? Or is there anything that you still don't understand that I did not explain clearly enough? If that's the case, please let me know in the comment section. If you have any other requests, suggestions, also please put that in the comment section. I hope this video helped you. I hope this can elevate your Afrikaans. I'll see you in the next video. Have an awesome day.